Hey peoples! Simbi wanted to join in to say hi to all of you because we've got a very interesting episode lined up for you today. So all you creative ones who've been playing with Lego blocks since you were kids, she's getting very happy about this one. And who've been looking at all those awesome buildings and thinking, how can I design one of those buildings? We have someone specially for you today. An internationally acclaimed architect and landscape architect with us in the studio, Kavita Srivastava. Kavita has over 20 years of experience working on a wide array of projects both in India and the UK. And she's won several awards for herself and for her projects. And by the way, she also writes and judges annual design competitions. So without taking too much of your time, I'm going to quickly introduce you to Kavita. So hey Kavita, thank you so much for being with us and welcome to ChetChat.
Thank you.
And the first thing I'm going to ask you, how early, a lot of them feel that they want to be this childhood prodigy. But tell me, how early did your interest in architecture and landscape architecture start?
I hadn't planned anything in advance as a child, but my grooming as a kid has been essentially traveling a lot with my dad because he's been a marine engineer. We were always encouraged to do art, craft, dancing, singing, to the point even our dresses were designed and stitched by my mom.
Oh!
And probably these are the things that helped me in moving or getting drifted towards creative fields. It's only a year before I joined architecture that I understood that architecture is the field that I'm actually interested in.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. It wasn't like right since you were a kid, you were building all these blocks.
No. If I tell you the truth, it's like my sister used to build the houses.
Oh, okay.
My brother used to build petrol pumps and garages, and I used to only build toilets and bridges.
Okay, interesting. And then you moved on to gardens.
That's also something that has come with time. Thankfully, for doing my architecture, I joined a college which was in an agricultural town in Kolhapur.
Right.
That's where I got a lot of exposure to the greens, to openness, to fields and rivers, and spent time outdoors sketching, traveling. And then I started getting interested in earth architecture. Then I went to train under Rainmaker in Pondicherry and in Kodaikanal, which was a village. And he was building a ceramic kiln in a potter's shed.
Fantastic. And then you went on to the UK to do a post-graduation after you finished the program?
Yes. But that's 10 years after me graduating as an architect.
Okay.
After I trained with Ray, I came back. I completed my architecture, and I worked in Mumbai for an interior project in an Indo-German firm. And I wrote back to him saying that I would like to work with him again on one of the projects that he had designed, and he was looking for a site supervisor.
Okay.
For me, learning was more important, and getting the training under him and wanting to work on that project where I would get the exposure that I was looking for.
Okay.
So I went back and I worked with him as a site supervisor.
Fantastic. That's a big lesson for people watching, because we always think as students that the moment we finish this course, we'll get this fancy job in a great apartment complex with a super title.
Yes.
But you're saying site supervisor is how you started your career because learning was important.
Yes, and I should tell you that when I went to work, I did everything that a mason would do. I used to also pick up the stones and pass it on.
Wow.
And I used to do the work contractor's job too.
And I can see that you still cherish that experience no matter how hard it sounded to you.
I used to struggle to have a nice thali on the weekend, and my boss, that's Ray, he actually asked me that, do you think you are being paid enough? And I genuinely didn't understand the value of money at that time. And I said, I think yes. And he just smiled, But ask me this question today and I may not say yes.
Yeah, nothing seems enough, Yeah, but that's a good lesson for some of the viewers.
Yes.
Tell me now, today, if somebody is looking at a course in architecture and landscape architecture, for example.
Yes.
So what would you advise in terms of courses, in terms of education itself?
Architecture, as as a subject, I would say it's a very vast field. Most people think architecture is about building these iconic buildings, but I would say that architecture could be even, a small furniture piece in your house. It could be, just a portion of a pavement or even a block that gets into the pavement.
Right.
Why you get into architecture is because you're just getting groomed to be something in the future.
Right.
Like technology grows, your understanding of the subject grows, and you have to keep evolving with time.
Right. So Kavita, before we actually get into discussion of the list of colleges, recommended courses, etc., one of the questions I want to ask you is, as they're looking at architecture for a future career, what skills do you think they require to possess to be a good fit into this field?
Architecture has got various assets to it. Drawing is one of them, because drawing is one of the languages of architecture.
Right.
So you need to have good drawing skills, but you also need to have techniques to express yourself, and that's what you need to learn. And if you do not have it built in you, then you can always build it over a period of time.
Right.
The other aspect of architecture, which is always going to be useful throughout your life, is science, maths and science.
Okay.
Now you don't need to know calculus; it's not as difficult. But yeah, your basic geometry from school days, your 8th standard geometry, your basic science which you learn right from preliminary school and come home.
Material science kind of knowledge.
No, just simple things. Let me give you an example. Like, you have to have the simple understanding that water evaporates.
Yeah, what temperature.
So that's simple thing. So when you are designing a project or a subject, and say it is a place where there is less water,
right,
then you want to actually do something to conserve the water, and then you want to have a canopy, or you want to have trees, or you want to build an environment around it in order to reduce the evaporation.
Right.
This is science.
Yeah.
Your logical, analytical understanding of a subject, your common sense is something that will always help you throughout your life.
Yeah. So coming to the program, let's say they're interested in the program, they have all these skills that you've mentioned that they should, and they want to do a bachelor's in architecture. Is that's the first program that they undertake?
Yes, if it's architecture, then it's a bachelor's program in architecture. It's called under various headings in India, across the world. Some may call it BSc, some may call it a diploma in architecture, some may call it a bachelor's degree in architecture. Now, no matter what the name is, what you need to look for is a university that accredits your course.
Right.
Because then you are investing into a program where you're assured that the degree is going to be recognized by the authorities, by the councils, whoever is forming the boards to certify you as an architect in the future. After you do your graduation, you give exams, many exams, in order to qualify at various levels to become even a fellow, or the Council of Architecture exams, the RIBA exams. Each country has its own governing body, the Landscape Institute, etc.
Now tell me, how long is this program for? How many years?
Yeah, I think if you compare it to most other fields, architecture is the longest. There's a reason to it, but yes, the smallest program in which you would not be a degree holder is also 3 years.
Okay.
And then it would be 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years.
Oh, okay.
So it could be anywhere in this duration. In India, it's a 5 years program.
Right.
Because the first 3 years go in just grooming you to understand what the subject is, because of the amount of topics that get involved into it. You are learning first you learn the drawing skills, then you learn what spaces are, what forms are, then you start understanding how to put forms together, how movements are, what is electricity, what is structures, how to balance surfaces. Once you are groomed to understand these aspects, that's when they put you on to more optional based subject, or you are getting into research, and you are going either for practical training, or you are working on your dissertation, and before you know it, 5 years
have gone past. So tell me, would you like to recommend, or which are the good schools that they should consider?
In India, But if I talk about the oldest institutions, then in Mumbai you have the JJ School of Architecture, institutions that are associated with the IIT curriculum also. You have the School of Planning and Architecture.
Right.
There are many more. Mumbai itself may have at least 13 good colleges of architecture, though they may not be as old. But they have, over a period of time, gathered information, gathered skills. They have programs where they invite very good professors to conduct workshops, and similarly even in other cities. So don't just run with the name.
Right.
I think run for an institution where you would get what you are looking for, where your interests are getting catered, and I think where your future is more important.
Right. Now tell me, looking at India versus studying abroad, since you mentioned a lot of the good schools, the ones that are in India,
Yes.
should they consider doing an architecture from abroad, and if so, which are the countries that you would recommend?
I have done my bachelor's in architecture in India. I've done my master's in landscape architecture in UK at the University of Sheffield. There was a completely different experience. So I would not say that either one of them is good or bad. I would encourage a person that probably try both. I was always being bothered by this topic of, hills being chopped off, the soil coming from there, and we are creating these humongous podium gardens, and there's a lot of infrastructural topics that were interesting me, but I was not getting time during work. Sheffield was a place where naturalistic landscape was a subject which was a lot of, which is, there's a Natural England program, and there are teachers over there who are actually working on using recycled materials, on, building landscapes, on creating podium gardens. And so I went there. Even I had a scholarship in other places, but I chose to go to Sheffield.
Okay. So Kavita, you mentioned scholarships, and that's something that they're always interested to know more about. So are there scholarships available to study architecture?
Moreover, at the master's level, there are more scholarships at that level in India and overseas. Your scores do matter in all these. There are entrance exams for programs in India where if you have qualified well, you automatically get a discount in your fee, which behaves like a scholarship.
Yes.
And the same happens also in universities overseas. So I had got a 50% scholarships from Texas A&M for a program that I had done. I did not go for the course. I wanted to for landscape architecture, but yes, I had also got a scholarship from Newcastle, Nottingham. Each university offers what they have in their kitty and for which course.
Right.
In India too, the human resource development boards do have some quotas. In case you don't qualify for any scholarship, the banks are helping students to go ahead and pursue their studies. They do give you loans for education.
So you mentioned your interest in landscape architecture developed because of the various programs that you went through. But what are some of the other specializations that are interesting, that are probably where the growth opportunities are, that some of the students could look at?
Yeah, if I would talk about India to begin with, now our country has got a huge history. So I would think about architecture as one of the subjects where, you can learn about the history of our country. You can learn about how to conserve some of the important buildings, some of the civilizations of our country, which will behave like a museum for the future. You can, as an architect, you can also do a master's related in archaeology, where you can club those subjects together, and you could probably be working on museum designs thereafter. If industries is what interests you, you can do a course where you can focus and build your skills on building industries. If high-rise buildings, iconic buildings, then you can. There are colleges which actually train you how to focus in building these kind of iconic buildings. Okay. You can be an urban designer, you can be a landscape architect, you can understand traffic design and planning, and you can become a part of a company where you are focusing on the movement of the traffic. There are planners for traffic movement which are required for cities. Our city needs it a lot.
Right.
There's lighting designing, which is a very important subject. Architecture gives you the basis to understand and do a subject probably better than anyone else. Today, my background in architecture gives me the strength to work on landscape architecture much more than a horticulturist has. Because in horticulture, you may probably only learn about plants. But landscape architecture is not just about plants. It's a very vast platform. You have to have an understanding about the architecture, the land, the geography, the climate, the placing of the climate, the civilization, how it is evolving. A lot of topics get involved into it other than plants. So planting is just one aspect of landscaping. Our city strongly needs people who are good project executors, who are project managers, who have developed organization skills. We have a bridge built and we have a whole pile of dirt left next to it. We have a plan to build a bridge, but the bridge is never built on time, and we all waiting and we all struggling through traffic. So if architects take up this kind of a role in planning and designing of the infrastructure, where they make sure that there is a guideline, where things are executed on time and they are finished neatly and elegantly, then we cherish the work.
Yes. So talking about these various specializations that you did, are all of these available in India, or do they need to go abroad to get some of them?
I think all of them are available in India in various colleges across the country. They may not be tagged, with a very straightforward name, but in India I learned to study with a more practical, functional approach to my design. Whereas when I was in UK and I was doing my master's, I learned how to build up on concepts. I learned how to focus on research and concept before getting into details. Try to study a new language and go and learn it in a new country. Why are you getting restricted with English as your medium of education? Try French, go to France. Try German, go to Germany. Maybe if you learn Indonesian, you can go to Indonesia and learn,
and
travel.
you can also inculcate all the architectural sensibilities of these different countries historically.
The pleasure of being in a new place and imbibing their culture, you make new friends.
So tell me, there's another concern that they have, given the slight recession that we are going through globally, about job prospects and growth prospects being in a field that's so closely related to real estate development and overall sort of.
Yeah, but that's a momentary aspect. If you think about it, means I have seen recession the moment I got out of college. You have come from a banking field, you should be telling this to me, but I think there is a graph. You grow and you drop and you grow and you drop, and we experience this in our life. Just because the real estate industry is not doing well today, it should not be a deterrent for not wanting to learn something. Maybe your skills today in architecture could be useful in the banking industry. Maybe you could be a part of the government and you could help them understand, or you could learn from them initially and then explain, on what are the pitfalls in the system and how it can be helped, or just help in even documenting. And I have friends who around the same time, left architecture. They went into sales and marketing. Some of them started their own business and they are doing very successfully in creating products like soaps and incense sticks and essential oils. But they still call themselves architects. The background that they have is in some form or the other helping them in their aesthetical and their logical, analytical skills in putting things together in what they are doing today.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, because specifically one of the viewers had asked me this question, saying after the 5-year, 6-year program, if I change my mind, what can I do? And you've so beautifully said that, you could do planning, you could work in the public sector, you could even leave it, get into financing the real estate sector on the banking side, or you can work for manufacturing, and you continue to use those skills that you've gained during that 5-6-year program, which is been so beautiful. So Kavita, thank you so much for being with us and sharing all your experience and knowledge with us, and I'm sure our viewers are going to appreciate this.
Thank you. It's a pleasure that you're doing a job like this, and I'm really happy that we have people like y'all nowadays. During my days, we didn't have so much exposure, we didn't have so many people to guide us. Y'all are a blessing in disguise too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey, so thanks for watching till the end. So if you have any questions that you want to ask Kavita, you want to ask me, or you want to ask Simbi, put them all down in the comment section at the bottom of this video. And don't forget that subscribe button and the bell notification button right next to the subscribe button. And like us at Facebook at ChetChat 101, at Instagram at ChetChat 101, at Twitter at ChetChat 101. And happy watching. Bye.